Hello, and what do you know? It's already the middle of the week. Boom, Wednesday, just like that. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to another edition of your feel-good family show.
Yeah, it's Wake Up Nigeria, and as always, we have something for everyone. All you need to do is stick with us all the way to 8:45, and we'll promise we'll make it worth your while. And guess what?
Yeah.
Back together again, both of us.
Yes. Okay, because is this where you give me a high five? Or that's like old school.
It's been many days.
Or should we like chop knuckle or something? I don't know. Is this?
It's called a fist bump, you know.
Chop knuckle. Yeah. Which one is fist bump? Anyhow, we're live online at tvcontinental.tv and on Facebook. So no matter where you are, you can link up with us live at TVC Connect. You can comment as well, give us suggestions, contributions, use our hashtag #WakeUpNigeria. My name is Titilayo Oyinson.
And I'm Yomi Okwe, and I can see Chef Ibiyemi of Classic Dessert in the kitchen. And I can see some crackers, ice cream, a little bit of I think a lemon. There's a lemon there as well.
There's a lemon.
So something special is going to happen. When there's ice cream, there's, you know.
MM's looking flowery. What's going on?
Good morning. How you doing?
Okay, so we have loads happening today.
Yeah.
As always, Wednesdays are for health. And we'll be starting today's show with a report by our lead producer, Mr. Ozzy Okoli, on challenges faced by residents of Takwa Bay in Lagos, most especially the women.
Thereafter, as the Breast Cancer Awareness Month comes to an end, today we have a package for you put together by Betty Egedo on Diagnose Me Africa, which shines the spotlight on diagnosis in Nigeria. And Dr. Abasi Ene Obong will be here to throw more light on diagnostics.
Now, if you are in a relationship, communication is one of the most important and complicated aspects of it. Trust me, I know. How do you get your spouse to listen? And even more, contribute. It can be tough. That's why we have Damilola Oluwatoyinbo joining us today to help us out and have a conversation.
Yeah, hashtag Ask Dami. We're also going to be having a musical performance by MX EOT this morning.
They say this could be us, but you keep messing all around. Yo. Stop playing, girl. This could be us. Let's get serious. Stop playing, girl. This could be us. Let's get serious. Stop playing, girl.
And finally, South African award-winning writer, presenter, actress, and activist Lebo Mushy Lay will be joining us for a chat much later on the show.
The threads that bind us to our dreams. The threads that lead us to our goals. The threads with which we weave our dreams. The threads that tie us to our fears. The needles that pierce our hearts with sorrow. The threads that link us to our past. Sadness is reborn as the liquid of life. A red river flowing through confrontation and strife. The river.
And we have a show. That's
Yes,
everything happening.
So it's always usually such a big challenge to fill 2 hours with content. Interesting content that people will like.
Yeah, and Wednesdays are especially tough.
Yeah, so I just want to say a big shout out to the producers on the show, content people like you guys, DIYs and stuff.
Yes, the life hacks, loving those.
This week in history that you put together.
Oh, more, that thing takes like a whole week to produce. You won't believe it. But there's just so much behind the scenes that people don't really understand about TV. So I had a lot of time to compare radio to TV. With radio, if there's nothing to do,
just talk.
No, just put on a song.
Oh, okay.
You know, whiskey can help you out. You know, just start singing, and everybody's fine. But with TV, you have to have something visually stimulating to catch people's eyes. You have to make sure it's the right color, the right energy.
You have to get MM and Mike to dance and do karaoke.
Do an open mic day. What was it called? Karaoke. You know, but Wake Up Nigeria has really changed a lot of people's perspectives of TV, especially
breakfast
in the morning.
television.
I told you, I said it yesterday, that there was a lady that said that her children danced to the song, the opening song.
Oh,
for Wake Up
right,
Nigeria.
okay.
And it was really, really fun to hear that from them and hear positive feedback all the time. So once again, a big shout out to the producers.
Yes, indeed.
Well done.
I like it. I mean, it's always very, very nice. Like every single day, there's something that adds to you. So Wednesdays, for instance, we're going to be talking about couples and relationships.
Yeah.
Mondays, we do motivation, we do
health.
business.
Yeah.
And then health, of course, as well, and different things that happen.
MM was really interested in the poets that came yesterday on the show. If you missed it, please check it out online. Go to our YouTube page online or check out the hashtag TVC Connect. I'm sorry, Wake Up Nigeria. Wrong hashtag there. Wake Up Nigeria is the hashtag, people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just, okay, because poetry in Nigeria is evolving, you know, and it's becoming more interesting. You find a lot more young people wanting to go into poetry. So I'm as much as there are a few young people who are interested, I'm very concerned about the future of poetry in Nigeria, where it's going, you know, where do we see it in the next 5 to 10 years? Well, is it going to be on the global map as we expect it to be? You know,
I used to be a poet. And
once a poet, always a poet.
yeah, well, it was just so cheesy, and everybody was always laughing at me. I was like, you know what,
I'm not doing it again.
maybe you're not an interesting poet.
Oh, really, MM? Okay, so
I should show you my poetry.
It's not about the person being interesting. It's about their views being interesting for poetry.
Exactly.
Exercises that you can just do for, at home. You don't have to tell anyone to do it. Little cardio exercises. So let's go to one. Stretch out. Come on. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And you take it to the side. 1. And you put your hands this way. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And the other side. And take it up this way. Come on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now your hands are back up this way. Then you go down 1. That's it. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. All right, your legs together this way. And you go down. Come on. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. All right, let's start the main workout now. And you punch it out this way. 1. That's it. 2. Go. 3 now. Come on. 4. 5. 6, 7, 8, 9. And punch it out. Punch it out this way. Punch it out. That's it. 2. 3 now. That's 4. 5. 6 now. 7, 8, 9. And 5 more. Go this way. That's it. Come on. What's for your side this way? Go. That's 2 now. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And take it up this way. Elbow press. Come on. Go up this way. That's it. 2 now. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now you catch your breath this way. Catch your breath. Breathe. 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 That's it. Breathe. 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 And you go this way, everybody. Come on. Go. 2. That's it. 3 now. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And you're going jumping jacks this way. That's 1. Don't stop. 2. 3 now. Come on. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. All right, back to this way. So come on. And punch it out this way. Punch it out. Don't stop. Come on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. All right, go on this way. Come on, ball. 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 That's it. 2, 3 now. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and go down this way, everybody. Go down this way. Mountain climbing, come on. Don't stop. Pump, that's it. Come on, go. That's 6 now. 7, 8, 9. And you face this side again, come on. Pump it out, that's it. You have to do it right. Your form has to be gotten right. Come on, keep going. Don't stop. That's it. 7, 8, 9, and turn to the side. If you're enjoying it, let's go. Don't stop. Come on. That's it. 7, 8, 9, and 10. All right. You get up this way now. Go down. Warming down now. Warming down. Come on, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 now. 7, 8, 9. Hands up this way. 1, 2, 3 now. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And push it up. Come on. Good morning, everybody. Let's go back to the kitchen.
All right, welcome back to the kitchen. It's Wake Up Nigeria, of course. Interesting rock out there. And with me in the kitchen is Chef Ibiemi of Classic Desserts. And this morning we are making something very, very, very yummy. Yes. Yeah, we are making deconstructed cheesecake. When you say deconstructed, how do you deconstruct a cheesecake?
You're actually going to see all what the cheesecake is made of.
Okay.
So that's just it.
All right, so let's talk about the ingredients then.
Okay. I have my fillings here.
Okay.
I have my cream cheese here.
So sorry, let's talk about the fillings.
Okay.
What kind of fillings are this?
It's fruits, cherries.
Cherry fillings,
yes.
Okay.
Then I have my cream cheese here.
Okay.
This is my Greek yogurt.
Greek yogurt?
Yes.
Okay.
Then I have my sugar. I have my lemon juice, and I have my cracker biscuits.
Okay. And over there?
My whipped cream.
Your whipped cream, which has already been whipped.
Yes.
All right. So let's get to our deconstructed cheesecake.
Okay. The first thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to crush the biscuits.
Okay. Can you use any other kind of biscuits or just strictly
You
crackers?
can use digestive.
Digestive?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. All right. Great. So how crushed are these crackers going to be?
Crushed.
Like
crushed.
Yes.
Are
we crushing it with our hands or with
No. I have something I'm using.
Okay. All right, so this morning we are making deconstructed cheesecake.
Yes.
I'm actually, fingers are crossed on this one because I've heard of it, I've tasted it, but I've never, ever seen, you know, how it's prepared, which I'm very excited about. I'm really looking forward to. And it looks pretty easy. But Chef Ibiemi says it's not that easy. And it takes a lot of work, so.
Which is part of what I'm doing now.
Yeah. But you know there's actually no work in crushing crackers or biscuits, actually. There's no work there.
There is work.
I could help you with that.
Okay,
With
I wouldn't mind.
Can you imagine the way she just tossed it? Like, go ahead, girl. You want to do this? All right, great. So how crushed do we want this? Like really crushed?
We're almost there.
You're almost there?
Yeah.
Okay. Actually, it's a lot of work, guys. It's actually a lot of work. Okay, so what's next? Let's just, talk through the process.
The next thing now is I'm going to mix this.
Okay. So we are mixing our cheese and our cream cheese and our Greek yogurt.
Yes.
Okay. So apart from Greek yogurts, is there any other yogurts we could use?
You can use sour cream.
Sour cream.
You can use buttermilk.
Okay. Buttermilk, the one with vinegar or without
Yes,
vinegar?
milk with vinegar, yes.
All right. So we're going on a quick commercial break, guys. There's more on Wake Up Nigeria. Stay with us. Welcome back, people. It's Wake Up Nigeria, and of course, we're here in the kitchen with Chef Ibiemi of Classic Desserts, and we are making deconstructed cheesecake, right?
Yes.
Yes. And, okay, so let's go through the ingredients quickly for those just joining us.
Okay. The first thing I have here is my fruit filling, red cherry fruit filling. And this is sugar. This is cream cheese, and this is Greek yogurt.
Okay.
And my lemon juice.
Yeah. And our crackers, biscuit
Already
crackers,
crushed.
already crushed biscuit crackers. So I'm guessing this is what's making the cheesecake deconstructed. Don't mind yours, guys. We're just making a mockery of, you know, the cheesecake, you know, deconstructed. So basically, we're working with biscuits, you know, for our deconstruction. And then she says, well, if you're not making use of crackers, you could make use of biscuits that have wheat in it.
Yes.
Yeah, basically. All right, so let's get on with the process.
So now I'm going to mix my cream cheese.
Okay. Cream cheese you can find at the grocery stores.
Very well.
Yep.
Different brands.
Different brands. Whichever you like.
Yes.
Just make use of it.
Oh, sorry.
So this is your regular, well, it's not regular because not every home actually, you know, makes this. What's the most popular desserts that homes make?
Chocolate cake.
Really, chocolate cake.
Almost been taken over by red velvet now.
I think it's fruit cocktail because they are very easy to make. So you just have your yogurt and you have your fruits. And you just mix it in and that's it.
Well, to an extent.
We like to keep it simple.
To an extent, but me, I personally don't like fruits.
Fruits, oh, okay. So where we at with our cream cheese and yogurts?
So I'm going to whip that together now.
Okay. So in here we have our yogurt and our cream cheese and sugar. Can you make use of honey if you don't want to use sugar?
Oh, no.
No, okay.
You either want it or you don't.
Oh, okay. So I'm just going to take this behind while you're mixing that. So I'm also guessing that you could use your hand if you don't have a hand mixer.
Oh, maybe with your balloon whisk.
What?
Your balloon whisk.
How do you make a balloon whisk?
No, it's here. It's in the market. It's everywhere.
Balloon whisk.
There's a whisk that has, you can, some people actually use it to whisk their eggs at home. And it has different sizes from the smaller one to the biggest one. But it's actually something like this.
Is it almost ready?
Almost. Then I'm going to add
your lemon.
my lemon.
Okay. So this is actually freshly squeezed lemon from a lemon. Yeah, lemon juice from a lemon actually. All right. So what other fruits could you use? What other alternatives can you use? Can I make use of lemons? Lemons, strictly lemons. Okay. So what are we going for here? Thick or thin consistency?
No, we just need it to get incorporated together.
Oh, okay. And then what's next?
Then I'm going to add my...
Okay, can we put this up for a second?
Okay, yes, I can.
Okay, great. It's making a whole lot of noise.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. All right, so once this is ready, what's next?
I'm going to add this into it. I'm going to incorporate it together.
Okay, and this has to be properly mixed before you add your whipped cream
Yes.
in it. And then I'm guessing this is the last ingredient we're putting in.
Yes.
Okay, so let's get on with our cream cheese because people have to see how this is made. It's very easy. And then I'm guessing, okay, so then once you put in your whipped cream and your cherry fillings, what's next?
Chill.
We chill?
Yes.
In the fridge?
Yes. Oh. Chilled, deconstructed cheesecake.
Oh, chilled, yeah. I got that. So we are putting our mixture in the fridge.
Yes.
Once it's ready, once it's all mixed in.
Yes.
And then once it's cold, what happens? When it's chilled, what
Straight
happens?
to the mouth.
Oh, okay. So I'm guessing that goes into this tiny little cups in there.
Yes.
Yeah, ready to eat. Okay. All right. So let's get on with it. So this is very easy to make.
It is.
Cream cheese is always, I mean, it's really tasty.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, but this, for those of us who are actually looking to burn calories, it's not your go-to though.
But you need to spoil yourself once in a while.
Yeah. Well, maybe the kids.
Well.
Kids are gonna love this. I mean, the holidays are around the corner, which is, in another few weeks, basically. So one of those Saturdays, you could just decide to surprise them, you know, with the constructed cheesecake, you know, something to make their mouth water, and give them a yummy taste, you know. Kids are definitely going to love this.
Yes,
and they're going to want more of it. This is what you call a sugar rush, guys.
Every man sugar rush.
All right, so our whipped cream is going in here, right?
Yeah.
And then our cherry fillings. Okay, great stuff. Our deconstructed cheesecake is making progress, but we'll have to pause and then move over for health discussion with Yomi. But that's before we take this report by lead producer Ozi Okoli on some of the challenges faced by residents of Takwa Bay in Lagos, especially women.
Takwa Bay, a fascinating island of Lagos State, is potentially a developing tourist resort that needs both public and private support to optimize its tourism potential. In spite of the serene, windy atmosphere, the people who live here are constantly faced with various challenges.
When there is time of election, they will come here and tell us sweet word that they will do another school for us, bring electricity, but after, when they reach the post, they won't remember us again. We need electricity. I don't care who enter, whether anybody that enter, they should come and help us here.
No sign of electric pole anywhere around the community, and thus no existence of electricity, except individually generated power sources.
When there is no light, there is no hope. We need light in Takwa Bay. Electricity. So we can do some business. You know, when there is no light, no company will come down and come and establish here. We need light.
Aside from the lack of electricity, the health of the people is on a daily basis threatened by prompt healthcare delivery and inadequacies. The women who live here are in dire need of health services. They are constantly faced with dealing with the challenge of maternal and child health in an environment where health care facilities and services are not readily available. The only primary health center in the community lacks various health facilities, manpower, and drugs.
I was intent to give birth in the hospital, but they normally work from Monday to Friday. And when I was in pain, I went there around 5 o'clock on Friday, 5 p.m. When I went there, they were locked. I need to go back home. Then when I came here, I had a lot of people because I've been here for 2 years now. Then I asked, when you want to register, you need to register in the hospital and register in native. Then I register in the two places. When I looked at there is no option here, then I need to go back to the native one. Then I give birth there. So many rescuing in our health because we only have one health center here. Why is not enough for us? And we don't have enough doctor here. We only have one doctor, one matron, and one nurse, and it's not enough for us. We need government to look out of it. to come to our rescue. Maybe they should brought up our children. So if they become nurse or doctor or matron, they won't go outside and work. They will work in the community because they know that that is where they were brought up.
Without government intervention in Takwa Bay, most especially in the provision of electricity and quality healthcare services, the serene atmosphere of the beach will certainly be far from being a tourist destination for all and sundry.
And welcome back. As Breast Cancer Awareness Month, that's the month of October, comes to an end today, Wake Up Nigeria beams a searchlight on various diagnostic issues in Nigeria. Joining me to discuss this topic, misdiagnosis, Nigeria's silent killer, is Dr. Abasi Ene Obong, CEO of Diagnose Me Africa. But before we begin our chat, let's take a look at this report put together by Betty Egedo.
Over the years, Nigeria has been limited in providing some healthcare services and diagnosis due to non-availability of health facilities and equipment. Research has proven that about 100,000 Nigerian women have breast cancer yearly, of which the survival rate is 10%, due to an inability to differentiate breast cancer types using molecular techniques, among other reasons.
I spent the past decade or so working in the US and the UK in the healthcare space, where it was always easy to find whatever health information I needed to find. I came back to Nigeria and I observed that the diagnostic pathway in Nigeria is broken, and two, people are not aware of what choices they have. Actually, in the healthcare space in Nigeria, people don't have choices.
Today, the narrative is looking different and positive as healthcare is now being made easy in Africa and indeed Nigeria, as Diagnose Me Africa now provides genetic testing and other hard-to-access diagnostic services, including treatment tools for healthcare providers through an online platform.
Well, it's a good one for the healthcare system because we've come a long way not to know these things within Africa. It's high time we have this infused in our healthcare system. It's something that will help doctors too. It's faster, it's more, it's better than just, leaving my house, going to the hospital. Now, everybody, they can come to your house, they can come at your own convenience. So it makes it more convenient for doctors, for patients, for everybody, the whole stakeholders generally.
With this kind of innovative development in the health sector, solutions to diagnosis will be readily available.
All right, so Dr. Abbas is joining me now, and diagnosis, misdiagnosis, that's a big issue. Now, there are several factors, and I want us to address them very, very quickly. First is competence, technical competence, and all of that, and then a number of other issues as well, lack of funds, government, private sector. Just talk to us about why this is such a big problem in Nigeria.
Okay, so the way I see it, in Nigeria we have a lot of epidemics. An epidemic is a public health issue that explodes, because you don't do something to curb it. And in Nigeria, we have quite a few of those. Many of those lead to cancers. Now, what if I told you that in Nigeria, 30 million people are positive for hepatitis B or C?
Wow.
Right? And of those 30 million people, the majority do not know because hepatitis B and C do not show symptoms for about 20 years. And then by the time it shows symptoms, it's already too late because the patient has either liver cirrhosis or liver cancer, which has become one of the top 5 cancers in the country now. And in Nigeria, we haven't performed one single liver transplant, which means most of those patients are going to die. So
how do we move? I mean, there seems to be everybody's just heading downhill. So how do we begin to move uphill and begin to solve these issues? Because it just looks like, I mean, with the statistics that you just put out there, they're scary statistics. 30 million people living with a disease, and it looks like a majority of them are going to die. Well,
I mean, there's a number of ways to tackle it. One is people have to take charge of their health. In other words, you need to start asking the questions. What tests do I need? Previously in Nigeria, it was difficult to find these tests. Now with the platform called Diagnose Me, www.diagnoseme.africa, you can actually check to see your risk for breast cancer, for instance. So if somebody wanted to see if I have the genes that would predispose me to breast cancer, prostate cancer, ovarian cancer, it's a simple website click away.
So you just go to the website.
You go to the website.
Enter your details, or how
you buy a test, right? So you go to a website, you buy a test. Now again, let's take a step back. Previously in Nigeria, most of our labs do not have the capabilities to offer tests. So these capabilities are molecular diagnostic and genetic testing capabilities. I can say authoritatively that 99% of our labs in Nigeria are not equipped to handle such tests. So
99%?
Yes. Even the biggest labs in Nigeria.
And these are just like regular tests that you can get elsewhere outside the country?
Yes, you can. Outside the country, in fact, they've moved away from most of the routine tests that we do. Because here's the thing about routine tests. Routine tests don't always give you 100% certainty. Like if I did an STD test, it could tell me I have a particular STD, but there's still like a 50 to 80% certainty. Whereas if I did a DNA test for the same STD, it tells me 100% that I have this, even before it shows symptoms.
But the cost, though, because at the end of the day, I think one of the biggest challenges that we have in Nigeria is you go to a hospital, and usually the hospital is not equipped to do a series of tests.
Yes.
No matter what symptoms that so they will then give you a piece of paper until you go to the lab to do it. So a lot of people try to avoid such things, and then which is when
the issue even is the fact that the labs don't even do this test. So most of these tests we're talking about, if you went to a hospital, they'll refer you to the UK or to the US.
Wow. Okay.
That's the point.
Right.
And so by the time you look at the bill to travel to the UK, to the US to do these tests, I mean, it's hugely inflated. Yeah. So the first problem is not even cost. The first problem is access. The fact that you before couldn't find these tests. Now, when you can find the test available in the country, that's the first, solution. And the second solution is, how do we actually now reduce the prices? Right. Now, let me give you an example. There is a cancer called non-small cell lung cancer. It's the most common form of lung cancer. Now, what people don't realize is cancers are not one disease. Even lung cancer is a group of different diseases. So when you look at lung cancer, the cancer I just talked about, there is a gene called EGFR, right? And if somebody has a mutation in that gene, a particular drug is actually prescribed. So most drugs...
That will then prevent the cancer?
No, to treat the cancer. I'm talking about treatment here. Okay. So most cancer drugs are personalized, they're specific, they work according to your genes. Right? So if you have lung cancer and you don't have that particular mutation, what that means is you get put on another drug, whereas if you have this mutation, you get put on a drug called erlotinib.
Yeah, so that there's then no misdiagnosis.
Yes. Now the issue in Nigeria, and this happens in almost all the leading teaching hospitals, is that the doctors cannot actually do that test to tell a patient if they have that mutation.
So do a lot of guesswork.
Yes, so they put them on the drug anyways. And now what that means is a 50-50 chance, right? Because if I have the gene, if I have the mutation, then the drug works for me. If I don't have it,
then the drug doesn't work. Okay, so let's talk about, we don't have that much time. Okay. We just have a minute or two left. Let's talk about how we can get the private sector and also the government involved in ensuring that we have a more robust diagnostic system in the country.
So yes, so like I said, my company is DiagnoseMe.Africa, and we've created this platform that allows doctors from the comfort of their offices to order over 300 tests that before they couldn't easily access. Right? So this is something happening in the private sector. And then consumers, you and I, from our homes can order allergy tests, you know, non-invasive prenatal tests. So basically, a pregnant woman now can check whether her fetus has Down syndrome or sickle cell from just a simple blood draw. So you don't even have to go in and have the amniocentesis, which increases the risk of miscarriage, right? So we've made all these tests available and accessible and convenient. And it's all in one platform. And so that's one of the things we're doing on the private sector side. Of course, we want more players to come into this space because you need an ecosystem to build an industry. In terms of the government, well, we hope the government will begin to invest in health. I do not...
The government is obviously not doing enough because, I mean...
Oh, let me ask you a question.
Just a small percentage of the budget. Well, we have to go now, Dr. Abasi. It's, this discussion is obviously not... 5-minute or 10-minute discussion. It's extensive, and I hope that maybe over the next few weeks we can still have you on the show to talk about specific issues and how people can get help and get help really, really early. All right, we are heading over to the kitchen now where is on standby with Chef Ibiemi.
All right, thank you very much, Yomi. So right now we are currently making our deconstructed cheesecake, and what's going in here what has gone in here right now is our whipped cream, alongside our cream cheese, our Greek yogurts, and sugar. And what's
lemon
next?
juice.
And now lemon juice. So what's next, quickly?
So I'm mixing everything together now.
Okay. And we're putting it in the fridge to chill. So usually, Chef Ibiemi earlier on said that you should leave it in the fridge for 2 hours to chill. But unfortunately, we don't have all the time. So basically, we're just going to leave it to chill for a few minutes and then layer it on our crusted crackers, and we're good to go. All right, so the second half of the show is about to begin in a bit. Don't go anywhere. Wake Up Nigeria continues.
Yes, indeed, it is Wake Up Nigeria. And if you just tuned in, well, you missed a bit, but not to worry. A warm welcome to you.
Yes, indeed. And good morning to you, too. It's been quite a lot on the show. That, you know, discussion about misdiagnosis was just really, I mean, crazy. But
it's really scary.
Yeah, quite a number of things that we had on the show before and still more to come. My name is Yomi Ope.
And I'm Titilayo Oyinson. Remember, we're live online right now, tvcontinental.tv, and on Facebook at TVC Connect. Make your comments with our hashtag Wake Up Nigeria for Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And of course, you can see some of the clips of what we did earlier today right there on YouTube.
All right, so here's a question for you. How do you get your spouse to listen?
To listen?
How do you get your spouse to listen?
I don't know, man. It's a big
How do you say, Titi, listen to me? Sit down there and listen. Yeah, that's it right there. That's how to get your spouse to listen.
I don't think people are listening as much as they should be.
Yeah, we're putting that question out there. And we're also asking Damilola Oluwatoyinbo, a.k.a. Ask Dami.
Yes.
Hashtag Ask Dami. He's going to be our relationship coach on the show today, talking to us about
that very important topic.
Yeah, really, really important.
We'll also be having a musical performance. We love music on Wake Up Nigeria. MXEOT will be here.
They say this could be us, but you keep messing all around. Yo, stop playing, girl.
And finally, our guests for this morning, later on, we're going to be having Lebo Mushy Lay, who is an award-winning writer, actress, presenter, and activist.
If humanity is the cause, then the beating heart has to be the sound of the emerging race of men. And from a father's closet, what does a son borrow? And will this garment be enough to clothe him tomorrow? Will it close the holes in his chest when he feels hollow? Does he know when to lead and when to follow? Or is he measured by this?
All right.
Minimum wage. Minimum wage is a big issue worldwide.
Huge.
In America, minimum wage is like $10 an hour.
An hour. So how much is that in Naira now?
That's about
nearly 4,000. So nearly 4,000 Naira an hour.
6,600.
Yeah, so nearly 4,000 Naira an hour. And that means if you do 10 hours in a day, you can earn
40.
more than Nigeria's minimum wage in a month, in one day, in the US.
It's a delicate issue, but it's still mind-boggling that even what they're asking for, 30,000 Naira, has not been made possible in 2018.
Yeah, but they're looking at 22,500. Governors are saying that, okay, that is feasible.
Okay, so that's what they're saying is feasible for them. But the truth is there has been inflation on everything. Even bread is now a rich person's food. There was a time bread was a poor person's food, you know. But I'm just saying the cost of everything in the market, from food to healthcare to electricity, basic amenities, has gone up.
Even the stats, I mean, I was reading the stats yesterday. The Naira lost about 70% of its value.
Wow.
So it moved from about 180 Naira to a dollar to about almost, I mean, like at a point it was 370, 380. So now what that means is that if I was earning 18,000 Naira 3 years ago, now
the value of it.
Exactly. So by now I should really be earning like 50,000 if I'm going to make ends meet, as they say. So 22,500 is pretty.
Yeah, well, we can only hope for the best, and we hope that, you know, they come to an amicable agreement eventually. But the people do need to be considered, especially because just trying to even get your family well fed, talk less of education and healthcare, is such a big issue. Welcome back. It's still Wake Up Nigeria. Now, communication is a very important aspect of any kind of relationship, but there's an art to it. Even when arguing, you know, there is a special way. So I feel like communication is when a message is sent and received. Are the messages you're sending being received? Big question there. Relationship expert Damilola Oluwatoyinbo is here to respond to our question. How do you get your spouse to listen?
That's a big question. I'm sure there are millions of people perhaps across Nigeria who are suffering from this particular situation, and there are many aspects to it. I like something you said earlier about communication. That's when the message has been received, delivered and received. But I think effective communication is when the meaning has been effectively transferred. So it's possible for me to express myself, but all you're getting is my frustration, my disappointment, my hurt, my pain, and all of that. So how do you get your spouse to listen? We could discuss that for hours, but a few pointers. Number one, you want to know, what kind of man or woman am I married to? Yeah, because there's a way I can communicate with my wife that will just not work for the person watching me right now somewhere in VI or around Ikeja. So what kind of person am I married to? Do they work well under pressure? Do they work well under confrontation? Do they work well with conversations? Or are they going to prefer a text message? Yeah. So that's important. Number two, the time and the place. There are certain places where conversations will never be effective. For example, if you guys are on the Danfo bus and you're about to talk about maybe your sexual life or something, or some kind of financial issue in the home, that's not going to be effective, because then you have third-party interferences and people are just going to be like, what's going on with these guys? So the time and the place. Now let's talk about the time. So if you're a woman, you're passionate about maybe your hair, or as some people say, your hair, right? And then this guy is watching the Premiership, like Baba is into the game. I mean, that's the wrong time for that. Whatever you're going to say at that time is going to provoke him, is not listening to you. And we've seen all those video clips of people actually smashing their television screens when they're watching a game and their favorite teams are losing. So the place and the time, also very important. Number three is the manner of approach. Are you being polite? Are you being considerate? Are you being sensitive? Sometimes there are things happening in your spouse's life that you're not even aware of. Maybe because you've not had time to be in the same space to express yourselves, or maybe because they're just being secretive about it, or they're trying to protect you from the weight of the information they're trying to process. So I think these are three major things that we could hit it off with.
Okay, so I'm obviously I'm married, and communicating with my spouse has been, well, I won't say different, but it's been considered very new school. because we...
Modern.
Yeah, very modern, because we like to get things in writing. We chat a lot.
Yeah.
So we could actually be in the same room with a lot of people around and, you know, trying to discuss an issue with some very angry emojis, you know. But the thing is, I feel like the message was getting across as opposed to shouting matches. But then again, I know of some couples that if one spouse hasn't screamed at the other one doesn't move, doesn't do anything about it. You know, so I guess there are different types of relationships.
Oh, definitely. There are different types of relationships. And like you said, you work well with text for reasons best known to you, right? Yeah. There's some other marriages where that will never work. Yeah. So do you also have a conflict resolution strategy or an effective communication strategy? What that means is, have you had a conversation to say, I prefer communicating via text? So for example, when I was dating my wife, she just always sent me text messages. Now, I don't enjoy typing, right? I enjoy speaking. I speak very fast. So while I'm thinking, I'm trying to type the text message. It's like the text is in slow motion because I prefer conversing this way. Conversely, she prefers texting because she processes things a lot slower, not in terms of her mind, but in terms of putting herself into it. And so she didn't like the fact that I always wanted to speak. So what we did was to reach a consensus. If there's something up, introduce it via text. And then we'll discuss it at your own pace.
Okay, fantastic. So this has to be a conversation that you have before any conflict arises, right? So, okay, I'm thinking, you know, there's a man and a woman, they have to discuss a big issue. Someone is afraid to broach a topic. So if you're afraid to bring up a topic because you don't know how your spouse is going to react, what do you do?
All right, so this is my universal principle for that. If you struggle to talk to somebody who can talk to that somebody.
Well, isn't that the third party thing?
So let me explain what I mean. Number one is God, right? For those who have faith and believe in God, God is able to drop impressions. People have dreams about conversations their spouses wanted to have with them. But it happens, I mean, in counseling and coaching people. That's one. Number two, depending on the sensitivity of the subject matter, I believe that most of us have confident people that we respect. So if it's not so intimate and not so private, it's possible that you express your concern to somebody and say, okay, you know your friend better than I do. How do you think he's going to handle this? How do you think she's going to process this? Do you think I should be more direct about it? Do you think I should wait till, 2 years down the line or 3 years down the line? That's what I mean. So respecting the sanctity and the privacy of that union, but also not dying in silence, because there are certain things you need to get off your chest.
Yeah. So I feel like a lot of people have kept secrets for many years.
Yes.
5, 10 years, and suddenly it's now important to get that message across. Maybe because it might even affect the health of the spouse. Yeah. These are some very serious issues.
Yes.
And maybe the person with the secret has been trying to communicate that message, but the message is not getting across.
Yeah.
Maybe you've been saying it in so many words, but not hitting the nail on the head. Maybe beating about the bush.
Yes.
How do you get that spouse to read those messages, to get that message?
Okay, so I think that what I've noticed in communication, oftentimes we're so burdened and concerned about what I want to say, that I'm not even listening to what you have to say. So sometimes you're going to be more effective if you're able to pay attention to what your spouse is no longer doing, what she's no longer saying, what they're no longer responding to, because what happens is there's this lock jam where you're trying to express the same thing over and over again. You keep running into a brick wall. There is no penetration, no breakthrough, no access. So can you just listen? Now, in listening, not just listen to their words, but also listen to their actions, to their disposition. Is it coming in later now? Is it leaving work earlier now? What is this demon know at home? Does it still watch his favorite show or her favorite show, as the case may be? Are you listening? And there's a difference between listening and waiting to talk. So what many of us do is that we just wait to talk. Like, so okay,
when he's done shouting, I'll say my own.
Say your own. But there is misalignment in the conversation. So I'm going to recommend that if you're in that kind of situation or space, take some time to listen. Listen to your wife, listen to your husband, and then you might be able to join the dots. Secondly, can you think about a time in your life when you expressed yourself effectively and it was well received? Were you sweeter? Were you softer? Were you slower? Were you faster? Were you more discerning? Were you more caring? Deconstruct that scenario and try to identify the building blocks of that process. And at the end of the day, you might be able to synthesize it and then communicate effectively this time.
I have to say thank you for coming to the studio. Hopefully someone has learned something very key here about getting a spouse to listen a bit better. Now, hashtag Ask Dami or at PDAMS, or is it, we call you PDAMS?
Damilola online on Twitter, Damilola21 on Instagram.
Fantastic. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming to the studio. We have to move on with the show. We have a musical performance up next. Emmanuel Thompson, a.k.a. MXEOT, is right there.
MXEOT. Okay, he's like...
Voila. Are you ready to dance and move and shake your body, yo? Sissy for like a baby saying, we are shama groove it. Yeah, yeah. Are you ready to dance and move and shake your body? Oh no. On your mark, get set, let's go. We are Gigi Olis. Oh yeah, Juju, baby Jojo. Feed it Jojo, shama jo mayo. Oh yeah, Juju, baby let's go down low. Shama jo mayo. Oh shit, oh yeah, control, oh. Baby, oh yeah, maintain, oh. Baby, I say control, oh. Shama jo mayo. Oh yeah, control, oh. Secure to maintain, oh. Papaya to control, oh. Shama jo mayo. Oh, hey. I go go, yeah, yeah. Don't even pass a lot to do. Baby, anywhere you want, baby, I go follow. Just control it, hey, Shama Jo Mayo. Voila. Are you ready to dance and move and shake your body, yo? Sissy for like a baby saying, we are Shama groove it, yeah, yeah. Are you ready to dance and move and shake your body? Oh no, on your mark, get set, let's go. We are Gigi Olis. Oh yeah, Juju. Baby Jojo, feed it Jojo, shama jo mayo. Oh yeah, Juju, baby let's go down low, shama jo mayo. Oh shit, oh yeah, control, oh. Baby, oh yeah, maintain, oh. Baby, I say control, oh. Shama jo mayo. Oh yeah, control, oh. Secure to maintain, oh. Papaya to control, oh. Shama jo mayo.
Much Amex for entertaining us this morning with that song Control. Yeah. I'm really feeling your Durac.
Thanks so much.
So what inspired you to write the song Control?
Yeah, Fela actually inspired me in writing this song.
Yeah, I felt that Afropop rhythm there.
Yeah.
Okay, so how long have you been doing this?
Yeah, I've been doing this for 2 years now.
Okay, and how's the response been so far?
Massive, so massive. Yeah, my fans are growing, like, it's been so massive since when I started.
All right, great stuff. Any future collaborations in the nearest future?
Sure. Yeah, okay. I'll be dropping on my next single with the A-list artist.
Ace? Yeah, an Ace artist?
A-list
An A-list artist. You're not letting us know yet?
Yeah.
Fingers crossed on that one. Gee. All right, thank you so much, Amex, for having you on the show. All right, so we are moving on to the final quarter of the show. You don't want to miss more on Wake Up Nigeria. Stay with us.
Hey, welcome back. We have our final
guest
in the building, and she's a South African.
She's very exciting to look at, first of all. What she's wearing has just blown my mind, and I feel like I should have worn something more more glam today.
Yeah.
She's South African and a household name. She's most recognized for her lyrical and gutsy poetry. Lebo Mushy Lay is an actress, award-winning writer, and social activist.
All right. She acted in Hotel Rwanda. Remember that film? That really, really heart-wrenching movie. And wrote Flying Above the Sky and won the Noma Award for a Ribbon of Rhythm. And of course, we have her in the studio with us this morning.
Yes, indeed. Welcome, Lebo.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be here.
Honestly, you first of all blew our minds with the headgear.
With the headgear.
We have to talk about the headgear.
Let's talk about the headgear.
What is this?
So this is a traditional Zulu headgear. It's called istolo.
Istolo.
Stolo.
Stolo.
We'll do some click workshops.
Yeah,
I'll stay behind him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very important.
So who wears this?
So traditionally, this would have been worn by married women.
Okay.
But now, in recent years, it's become very fashionable, and people make them in different colors. It's quite trendy. So, and you know, anybody can wear them.
Okay.
now.
Is it comfortable? Like very comfortable, or?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not conscious of the fact that I'm wearing it. It's as comfortable as wearing a head wrap or headscarf.
All right, fantastic.
So welcome to Lagos.
Yes.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you. It's my first time on Nigerian TV. I'm excited.
Yeah, welcome.
It's good. It's good.
It's great to have you here. But I know we know you're in Nigeria because of the Lagos Poetry Festival.
Yes, I'm here for the Lagos International Poetry Festival, which kicks off today. Tonight is the opening ceremony at Freedom Park. We have school visits. I have a lecture tomorrow at the University of Lagos. I have an evening tomorrow with acclaimed Nigerian poet Wana Udobang.
Yes. Oh wow.
Yeah. On Fridays, a big concert with all of the poets at Muson Theatre, and then on Saturdays, another big show at Freedom Park. So I know there's a lot happening culturally in Lagos right now.
Yeah, there are lots going on. Lagos is really just opening up to the world, culturally speaking. And you know, so there's the Jazz Festival.
Right.
Now we have the the International Poetry Festival, and it's really good. So tell us what you are looking forward to in Lagos while you're here and interacting with Nigerian poets.
The poetry and spoken word scene in Lagos is exploding. The really special thing about the Lagos International Poetry Festival is that it's founded and curated by poets. So Efe Paul Adzino and Titi Lopez Onuga, Wano Udobang, Obi, these are people who are also practitioners, who care about the art form and make poems themselves, which gives them, I think, a unique eye into the spoken word scene in Nigeria, on the continent, and internationally. I think with the history of Nigerian literature, and of course you've produced like powerhouses in literature and continue to do so, and then you have the spoken word scene that is growing in popularity globally, and is really energizing young people. I think with that relationship that we have to text and to performance, and the rise of culture, in Africa, the fact that the world is looking to Africa for trends and all kinds of trends, from fashion to music, I think the positioning of Nigeria it creates a space for this thing to really explode. If this festival could keep going, I think it could be one of the biggest on the continent, if not the world. It's certainly one of my favorite. I mean, I've been on stage now for nearly 20 years, and it's my second time coming back for Lip Fest, and this is one of the very best festivals in the world.
So it feels like there's so much energy around poetry and the poetry scene, but then it does feel like there's a lot of people that just don't understand it.
Because of the way it gets taught, right? So if you don't have a teacher who's passionate about poetry, if you don't have somebody who's really, able to deconstruct it, like your Deconstructed Cheesecake there.
You've been watching that.
I've been watching that. In ways that make it relevant, in ways that speak to the issues that people are going through right now. I mean, you think about what people are debating. People are talking about corruption. People are talking about gender, relationships, identity, what it means to be an African in the world right now, our history, what's been taken away from us. When it's taught to you in a way that makes it relevant, then you realize that, oh my, this speaks to me, this is me, And I mean, I think that's what's great about contemporary African writers, is that they're speaking speaking about issues that touch people directly. When you experience this poetry, especially live, it's very hard to not be converted.
I love it. I mean, it's what you. I mean, I like the way you were talking about the African experience just now, and you grew up in the early part of your life in the U.S.
Yes, I did.
And I want you to make a comparison. You know, growing up in the U.S., where there's a kind of racism.
Yeah.
It's
it's there, Papa.
Yeah.
It's not,
So
it's not even a kind of, it's like,
it's like all up in your face and all of that.
for
In
real.
comparison to South Africa's history, coming out of apartheid and all of that, your own personal experiences, talk to us.
You know, I think growing up in America, my parents were in exile. My father left South Africa because he wanted to study engineering and couldn't under apartheid because black people were basically educated just enough to be laborers. You know, we had a really horrible system called Bantu education that gave black people an inferior education. So he left so he could study. My mother was a student activist. She was studying law, so she was left with the choice after the student uprisings in the 70s, do I stay and go to jail and die, or do I leave? They both met in America, ironically, and I followed shortly thereafter. And then they sent me back to South Africa to be raised in part by my grandparents while my mom finished her studies. But I joined them, you know, I was still very young when I joined them. I spent the bulk of my childhood, the 80s and the 90s in the US. We started transitioning back in the 90s when the country started changing. But I really feel like, you know, growing up in America was God's way of preparing me for South Africa because it's got a lot of the same demons, you know?
Right.
The way that America asserts itself, you know, in the world is the way that South Africa asserts itself on the continent, you know? Also, the same kind of baggage, slavery, colonialism, you know, Jim Crow and apartheid are cousins, you know? So I feel like it was a way of I was certainly protected from the overt violence that people were experiencing, you know, during that time in South Africa. But the psychological violence, the erasure of history, of identity, you know, that kind of ongoing emotional violence that happens to black people on black bodies, I wasn't spared. And it helped me to come back to South Africa and to be able to see it, you know?
Okay.
Yeah.
You probably wouldn't have been able to see it if you weren't as exposed at an earlier age. We've heard from even stand-up comics like Trevor Noah who have been able to express how they felt, especially when it comes to the color of their skin. Yeah. So we have noticed that you are not exactly dark-skinned.
Not exactly.
You're not exactly
We're not like me.
dark. You're not like us.
You guys,
Not
well,
exactly.
It's
Not like
us. It's
okay. Yeah.
When you say us, what are you saying?
There's us.
Okay.
There's us and there's you know, the
it was
darker
probably
version.
a lot different, you know, for you being colored as opposed to being black.
I don't, you know, in South Africa, colored is a racial group, you know, that was created during apartheid. It's a racial classification that doesn't exist anywhere else. Okay. So that, you know, and there's questions around it. I don't identify as colored. I identify as black. Both of my parents are black. Okay. But you know, you raise an interesting question because you know, colorism is real all over the world. Preferential treatment of light-skinned black people is real. Having this skin means that, you know, growing up, it meant that people wouldn't readily assume that I was even African. You know, they'd hear my name and think I was like Latino or something. If I told them that I'm African, they actually thought I was lying, you know? Right. So, and then moving back to South Africa where, you know, color is such an issue and people fetishize color, you know? And now this weird, you know, reverence for yellow bones, and you know, it's very painful. I think it's very problematic. I think it's also hurtful, in particular towards black women. You know, yeah, it makes the full spectrum of blackness invisible.
You know, it's this has been absolutely awesome. This conversation, and we can just keep going.
But we want to get a performance from you as quickly as possible.
I mean, it's your first time on TV in Nigeria,
yes,
so
it is.
you have to do something for us.
Give them something. 45 seconds.
Woo! 45 seconds.
Yes. 1 minute. We can stretch it.
1 minute. Where must I look? Which camera?
That one right there.
Camera
one. Yeah.
We call on memories buried deep inside skeletons of the first people to walk the skin of the earth, who nursed and nested in the cradle and spread civilizations across the planet like seeds. Tell us of air that flows through the heart of the land to all life and creation. Tell us of breath, the first song. Tell us of words like constellations mapping our contributions to humanity. Tell us of infinity, how the universe lives in us. Tell us which stars bear our names so we no longer have to fear the night. Tell us of earth, of roots that course through the body of the land like veins through flesh. Tell us of the force that squeezed the red sand like dough to form mountains. Tell us how to build strong communities like gemstones forged under extreme pressure. We call on the desert to remember when she was the bottom of the sea. Help us understand how to be fluid like water, how to remain supple without losing our identities. We call on volcanoes to inject us with flames of imagination. Once we carried tongues burping fire, we melted metals with our minds. Tell us what we have forgotten. We are not afraid of bones. Tell us what we have lost. We are not afraid of remembering.
You are getting in there.
I'm going back to writing poetry.
Yes, but
Absolutely
there's
amazing.
a deconstructed cake.
There's a deconstructed cake that must be eaten.
Yes,
fabulous.
please.
Thank you so
Please
much.
come with us. Absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
Welcome, Label.
Thank you so much.
Were you guys feeling that? Were you guys feeling that?
Amazing performance there.
Please have a seat
I
over here.
almost got carried away by that performance.
Really?
Yes,
Thank you very much.
All
Can I
right.
climb
So
up here?
quickly,
Wow.
we have Chef BME here for you. And she's made deconstructed cheesecake, which I'm very sure that you've been paying attention.
I have
to the process.
been. The crushed crackers, I saw you.
You saw me cracking that, crushing those
Cracking the
crackers, right?
crackers, girl. Oh, wow. Do I get to taste
Stuff.
first? Thank
Yes,
you.
you do.
Thank you. Kudos to the chef, the chefs.
So tell us how that is.
Poetry's
Oh,
about
it's
to flow.
yummy.
Yummy.
It's yummy. It's creamy. It's not too sweet. The lemon and the cherries give such a nice acid.
Oh.
I want to get some of this cracker.
All right, so
nice.
while that is going
Thank
on,
you.
while she's deconstructing that,
Yes,
we have to say a big thank you to our friends over at Homely NG for the kitchen accessories here on the show.
And of course, Fola at Fola's Place. If you ever need a haircut, that's who to go to.
Oh, fabulous.
Yes, indeed. Now, we would love it if you could join us again tomorrow, 7 a.m. right here on TVC.
Yes,
Can't wait to have you.
Thanks, Label, for joining us this
Oh,
morning.
it's a pleasure. Thank you for
And we'll
having
stop by at Freedom Park.
Yes,
as well
you will.
I'd love
tonight.
that.
And
Thank you
Chef
so
BME,
much.
well done.
Wave bye.